got a great video on deck that I'm going to bring to you guys today. We're doing a tribute to Phase 2. Phase 2, one of the original subway painters from New York, who passed away recently. And that guy was literally the pioneer of graffiti. He invented bubble letters. Like, think of all your throwaways and stuff. He was the first guy to do bubble letters on a freight train. Just an all-around style master. And he painted from like 1970-ish, around there. I think he was probably hitting like signature tags back in the late 60s. I mean, it goes back pretty far. You would be amazed how far back street graffiti goes. And it predates hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know they like to attribute hip hop to graffiti. Graffiti, well, writing was its own thing before hip hop even existed. Of course, there is a connection that can't be ignored. That definitely exists. But we have to remember, graffiti was its own thing before we even knew what hip hop was. And guys like Phase 2 are out there doing it in a way you couldn't even imagine. You know, like, a lot of young people have no idea what New York was like in the 70s. I mean, it was literally like Escape from New York, that movie from the 80s. It was on a whole nother level, like you would not even imagine today. And so these young kids took to the streets, to the subway trains, to the walls, because they wanted a voice. They wanted to be out there doing their thing. And Phase 2 is definitely a pioneer for that. So why don't we do this? I'm going to start doing a sketchbook piece. You guys can kind of follow along. I'll talk a little bit about the piece as I do it, so my eyes will be on the screen. I apologize. But let's have a little fun. Let's check it out. See you in a second. I'm doing an homage to Phase 2's famous bubble letter subway panel that pretty much ushered the whole era of bubble letter styles. I mean, it really does. Look at that. Look at that H. Look at the bottom of the P, the A. I know a lot of you guys have probably bitten that A before. He may not have been the first person to do that A, I don't know, but he definitely was the first person to start the whole bubble letter fad. So we're gonna kind of copy his style. Well, it is copying his style, it really is. But we're doing an homage to him because I want you guys to know who he is. So when we get done with this video, be sure to Google Phase 2 graffiti. And there are so many interviews with this guy. He had really great insight on the scene and the culture and the mentality of a writer and an artist. So right now I'm using a Graphic 1 marker by Sakura. And it's one of my favorite outline pens. If you like the Micron pens, I think you'll really enjoy these too. They're like a pigmented ink marker. They definitely lay down the line very, very nicely. And as you can see, I'm doing his signature drips into the piece with the bubble outer, which kind of gives a pretty neat effect. I actually don't do that very often, but I definitely am going to integrate more of that into my future pieces. In fact, I think this year, now that I've gotten a lot of young artists' attention, we're going to focus this next year on a lot of these old writers that have passed away and are no longer with us. It's time to learn our history. You know what I'm saying? Now is the time to learn our history. So let me go ahead and erase that. Oh, I wanted to mention too, that purple marker was a Magic Ink 500. Those are really good black book markers, so I highly recommend them. They really lay down the ink, and you know what? They don't react too well with water-based inks. I'm sorry, they don't react with water-based inks, so you won't get too much problems with them. I don't know if you noticed, but that green on the bottom, it was a dry marker, so I have to go back over it, and it actually ended up making kind of a cool effect, so I guess we'll just have to run with it. Happy mistakes, they definitely happen. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about Phase 2. So he got his start in the early 70s, writing with Lee 163D, not to be confused with Lee Quinones. There was another Lee before him, but he was more of a signature tagger type of guy, which is what most people were doing before they actually hit the subways. They used to call it hitting. You go hitting spots and you just write your name. You write your name and your street number, and that was your signature back then. Eventually people start crawling onto the subways, and well, we have what we have today. Graffiti will never be the same. Anyways, so there you go. One Phase 2 piece. We will definitely be doing more and getting more in depth soon. See you later.